So I've been seeing a lot of new players coming into Hell Let Loose lately, and without the game having a proper tutorial system, I felt the need to start making guides. I figured I'd start out with the most important role in the game, the officer or the squad leader. I believe the officer role is even more important than the commander's. A good officer leading and communicating with their squad has the potential to completely change the tide of battle. Something that pains me to see, and I see it way too often, is new players creating a squad just to get on the battlefield and spawn. This is a massive detriment to your team. My goal for this guide is to help new players who will be coming into the game when it fully releases later this summer. First is loadouts. I will not be going over the loadouts too in depth, due to new loadouts being planned in the future, including those for the Soviet faction. However, so far each faction has 3 loadouts, with each only having minor differences other than the primary weapon. The Americans get the Thompson to start, the M1 Carbine at rank 3, and the M1 Garand at rank 6. The Germans start with the MP40, then the Gewehr 43 at rank 3, and the KAR 98K at rank 6. All loadouts come with the watch to build garrisons and outposts with. They also all come with smoke grenades, frag grenades, and a set of binoculars. I switch between the loadouts based on what kind of gun I want to use at the time, or which situation I am in. If I know we're about to be moving into a town center, I'll usually switch to the Thompson or MP40 loadouts, or I'll switch to one of the rifles if I know we're going to be moving across open fields. Number 2, outposts and garrisons. First off, as an officer, you have the ability to create spawn points for your squad and your team. The spawn point for your squad is called an outpost, and can be built at any spot on the map unless it's within enemy locked territory. Outposts can be built without any cost to resources. Outposts are usually meant to be set up closer to the front line and be more risky than garrisons. However, outposts are a lot easier to destroy than garrisons. All an enemy has to do is either walk next to or throw a grenade at your outpost and it's gone. But due to the fact that outposts are a lot smaller than garrisons, they are easier to hide in bushes and around corners. You as an officer should be setting and updating your outposts as many times as needed as the match progresses. It is important to note that if an enemy does destroy your outpost, the game will not alert you of that, so check the map regularly. Also, outpost placement is on a 2-minute cooldown after you place it, so you can't just spam them one after another. You can, however, dismantle your own outpost to move it. You can do so by walking up to it and pressing F. This will completely skip down the cooldown timer so you can place it down again. So now that we covered outpost, let's move on to something even more important to those, garrisons. They are the single most important thing in the game. Only the officer and the commander can build them. Garrisons allow your entire team to spawn on a specific location and are really important for map control. In order to build garrisons, you need 50 supplies in friendly territory and 100 in enemy territory. So it's very important to have someone running as the support role in your squad, so you can build garrisons at your own discretion without the need for the commander to drop supplies or someone to drive the supply truck. Having to wait for a supply drop or a supply truck takes precious time that your enemy is using to get the upper hand on your team. Plus, supply trucks and supply drops are easily seen by the enemy, and it's a dead giveaway on where you might put a garrison. This doesn't mean you shouldn't utilize supply trucks and supply drops. They are both very important parts of the Hell Let Loose meta, but there is always a time and place for each tool at an officer's disposal. Speaking of supply drops, only commanders can call them in, and they drop with 100 supplies, so they are great for making cheeky, flanking garrisons in enemy territory. If you find yourself in what looks like a good location for a garrison, ask the commander to drop a supply drop on your location if you don't have a support player in your squad, or if they are waiting for their supply cooldown to finish. Keep in mind, garrisons can't be built within 200 meters of each other, and 200 meters is the same distance as one grid square on the map. In public matches, I see way too many officers walking directly into the gunfight and not spending more time placing garrisons. It's really simple. The less garrisons your team has, the less likely you are to win, and the more likely you are to be steamrolled and pushed back to your HQ. Also, The more garrisons you have, the less walking you'll have to do, and the more fighting you'll be able to do. So please, if you get anything from this guide, just build garrisons and build more of them. Build as many as you can. This brings us to number 3, maps and markers. The map in Hell Let Loose is the most overpowered thing you can use if you know how to read it. This goes for playing as an officer or any other role. I highly recommend remapping the map keybind to something you can easily get to. I have it mapped to one of my mouse buttons. Looking at the map is the best way to understand the flow of the battle. You can also use your fellow officers' outposts and garrisons as a type of alarm to see where the enemy is flanking you from. Friendly outposts and garrisons will light up red when enemies are within 50 meters of them, and garrisons become locked when an enemy is within 15 meters of them. When one of your garrisons is locked, you can no longer spawn on it until the enemies near it are cleared out. This next tip is very important. If an enemy is close enough to lock your garrison, and you incapacitate but don't kill them, meaning whenever they have the bleed out screen, they are still locking your garrison. You either need to get a headshot on them or throw a grenade at their incapacitated body to allow your team to spawn on the garrison again. Hell Let Loose does not have a double tap mechanic, so it has to be an explosive that finally kills them. The map also tells you where supplies and other things like ammo crates are. If you hover your mouse cursor over the little supply icon, it will tell you how many supplies are there. You as an officer can use this information to move to that location and build a garrison, if you can't get the supplies to your location in a timely manner. This is something I see very few officers doing. I see officers walk over supplies already set down without placing a garrison all the time. Another system I see most officers ignore is the marking system. We all know you can ping a target in Hell Let Loose, similar to other games like Apex Legends. However, those pings are only visible to your own squad and are only active for 5 seconds. As an officer, you can mark specific locations with the marking system. You can do so while in first person or while having the map up. Using the button you have mapped to ping, hold it down and this will bring up a wheel with multiple markers on it. You can pick from a variety of different markers, from enemy tanks, infantry, to garrisons and outposts. If you see a tank, mark it with the enemy tank marker. This will show an emblem on your map and HUD for your squad, the rest of the officers, and the commander to see. This gives valuable information for the rest of the team. Once the emblems disappear from your HUD, simply press the T button on your keyboard to bring them back up. But be sure to manage your markers. If you mark a tank or garrison and somebody destroys it, remove the mark from the map. You can do this just by clicking on the marker. You can also mark targets with your map up. If one of your squad members sees something that needs to be marked, they can ping it and you can mark it from the map view. This allows you to mark targets not directly in your own line of sight. I can't stress enough how valuable doing this is for your team. So that pretty much covers all the tools you need to be an effective officer. Even if you are completely new, you can still be a competent officer just by using the tips in this video. I plan on making more guide videos like this for other important roles as well. Hell Let Loose is at its best and most fun when everyone is communicating and when you have a basic understanding on the mechanics of the game. Thanks for watching and see you next time.